even if you're nervous or you think you might fail, it's always way better to just go and give it a shot. And having failed at a lot of things, and the failures get a lot less notoriety, you hear less about them, but I failed at least as many things that I've succeeded at. It's not that big of a deal. So I think just go ahead and go try something.
Hello and welcome into the show. This is the Free Outside Show, so hopefully you're in the right spot. Today, I'm going to do something a little different. I did this interview on Chad Lubinsky's podcast, Peanut Butter and Mountains, so check that out. So subscribe to that, but only right after you give me 5 stars and subscribe to my podcast channel. Are they channels? I don't know. Anyways, we're going to just replay or play, because we haven't played that on this channel before. We're going to play that interview on this channel, on this podcast feed, on this podcast for the episode today, because I think it's fun, insightful, and you can see a different side of me, and we can do anything we want over here because I'm in charge. All right, let's just roll that tape. Yeah, there was no tape involved in the taping of this. Let's just roll that feed. Roll that feed.
Welcome back to the podcast. So we had Jeff Garmeyer, aka Legend, on the podcast several months ago, which it was actually episode 71 to be exact. And man, we had such a good time, so we're going to run it back again today. And as a reminder, Jeff has over 30,000 backpacking miles under his belt, which I had to look that up again. I was like, dude, that is so freaking far. That's a lot of miles. I mean, I don't know if I haven't even, oh yeah, I definitely drove that, I guess, in the last few years, but anyway. But yeah, so he's done that. He's got calendar year Triple Crowns, multiple FKTs, and he's completing all these 250-mile races. So everybody that's listening is going to be sure to get something out of the podcast today. So welcome back, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Ready to drop some more knowledge on the audience here.
Let's go. Yes. So we're like we were just talking about, man, summer's flying by. You've already had an active year, which is most notably completing Cocodona 250. And then you just got back from an attempt on the FKT of the Tahoe Rim Trail. And then you also, sounds like you created your own run called the Montana Meltdown that we're going to be talking about later. So I would like to dive into all of those today. But where would you like to start first? Because I have questions lined up with all of these.
I think, well, something that we have in common, which I think is pretty fun, let's just talk about like the seasonality and the progression, because I think that's what makes all of these things so engaging and entertaining is like you kind of have your winter style, you put that away, you move into spring and then summer.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it makes the summers and the seasons and the years fly by, but it's also been the most fun way to live as well, and just super engaging rather than, I grew up in the Northwest where it rained all the time and just was like pretty similar weather pretty often. But man, I don't know. People hate on the winter and the cold, but the changes are what really drives me. I cannot do same. That's why I continually do new projects.
Interesting. Okay. So why don't we start then with winter? What's your, we were talking about this a little bit before podcast. Like, how does your training differ in the winter? What activities are you looking to do in the winter? Do you have goals in the winter? I'd be really interested in as well. Like let's start there first.
Yeah. Since I can remember, like 4 years old, I love picking up new things and learning them. I just think the learning curve is so fun. So like 2 years ago, I grew up downhill skiing. I lived in Tahoe for a while, so pretty proficient downhill skier. Then about 10 years ago, picked up backcountry skiing, got quite comfortable with that. And then the last couple of years, I've learned to skate ski. So that's been where the learning curve goes. And it's been so fun. It's like if rollerblading met sprinting or something. It's just like the most novel way, new way to move in the winter. So I pay a lot less attention to running, and as far as just training, I'll do like a speed block where every run has a meaning. There's very few junk miles because when it's 10 degrees out, you don't want to be running junk miles. So I might as well get those in doing some skate skiing, and then maybe 3 or 4 days a week I'll run, and a couple of those days are very specific speed workouts, and then as it transitions from winter to spring, I'll apply that more specifically to whatever race or FKT I'm doing. Maybe it's a heavier pack and working on some hiking or hills, or maybe it's flat and longer runs. And then by summer, you're just, I mean, that's when you want to enjoy everything and go on these long adventures and kind of be in that shape, ready to do everything. So winter is where you can really level up your fitness game in the sense of raise that aerobic ceiling. You're working on like that anaerobic level, VO2 max stuff. All that's really perfect for winter because it takes a lot less time to develop. And since I coach a bunch of athletes, that's kind of the progression we do too. Most races are usually in the summer. And so the approach is least specific to most specific. So winter is least specific. Very few adults are running 100-meter sprints against each other. So you don't need to have that really fine tuned, but it's the best way to become a more fit athlete. And it really makes you the fittest, the fastest, because no one sprints anymore. And if you do just a little bit, you get way fitter, way quicker.
Dude, that's a really good point. Okay, so wow, there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of gems there. So essentially your training is seasonal along with your goals, which makes total sense. By the time you get to summer, like you want to have that blade as sharpened as possible. But kind of winter, you're kind of honing it. Spring, you're honing it maybe a little bit, but also Cocodona's during that as well. So you're probably getting it sharpened too from there, it sounds like. And then kind of varying the activities so you don't get bored and you can learn new things.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, there's two thoughts. And even in the last week, I think everything, whether it's on a year scale or a week scale, like in the last week, yesterday, I went on a 20-mile run with 7,000 feet of gain, a bunch of scrambling with friends. Did not look at the watch once, didn't look at a heart rate or anything like that. Didn't care. It was like the fun day. So you're balancing that fun day with, like 2 days before that, I did like a hill workout. So that's like your aerobic, build the training, very specific day. And then that's balanced out with like maybe like a few days before that, did a route I'd wanted to do for a while and just got some solo time out there. So it's all a balance, and kind of how it goes year long too. Like the skate skiing is your fun time and you're also getting some fitness on accident. Your speed workout is the hard day where you get done and you feel really good about pushing yourself through that. And then your resort day is like your go have some fun with friends kind of day. So I think it's all about balance. And a lot of people ask if I'm going to get burnt out. And I think just even having these micro periods of balance where every week has some balance fitting into it. That's how I never get burnt out. I'm always motivated to jump into the speed workout because I haven't done it for a week, or jump on a trail or do a route because it's all super engaging, especially up here in Montana.
So you're really cognizant of that burnout and not wanting to go down that road by you're just mixing it up. Cross training, essentially.
Yeah. And I know if I'm dreading something, like I'm on the verge of not wanting to do it anymore anyway. So it's pretty easy to just pivot and put something really fun in there, or ask if a friend wants to do something. And I mean, nothing in life is really determined by one workout or one day or one mistake or one activity. So if you know you're going to hate it, just don't do it. Skip that one that you're going to feel bad about and just move on to the next day and push off that burnout and just find something enjoyable. That's the whole point of it all. You're just trying to stay in shape so you can enjoy it and do well at things in life.
Dude, that's some good stuff. Because I have definitely, and the crazy thing is I haven't ran as much as you have anywhere near, but I'm already burned out of ultra running. Like for myself, I'm like, man, and now I've seen myself go back. I really love jujitsu. And it's, it's still a cardio workout. You're getting your interval work, but I mean, it's definitely not, you're not doing any type 2 kind of stuff really. But I have seen myself now coming back to that and really, really enjoying it. So that really resonated with me, with where you're like, well, maybe the things that you're really burning to do, that's the thing maybe you should focus on right now. And so that really resonates with me. And the other thing that resonated with me was skate skiing.
Oh yeah.
We have some trails here in Laramie, and we went up cross-country skiing, and I was like, wait, this is lame compared to these guys on these skate skis that are just buzzing right past me, right?
Yeah.
And so I am super interested in that. So was last year your first year into the skate skiing, and how did that go?
Last year was my second year,
Okay.
but still big strides and stuff. So skate skis, your skis are like 1.5 inches wide, so you're on like toothpicks, and so any downhill is super scary, and your heel
Okay.
is not attached, but you're
Right.
just skating. You're pushing off almost like you're ice skating, but you have skis on, so you can move pretty darn fast out there. And that's what's fun about it is you're just gliding along the snow, you're pushing with your poles, and you're just whipping around turns, holding on for dear life on 10-foot hills. You're getting passed by like 10-year-olds who've been skiing their whole life up here on skate skis, but it's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
super fun. It's just such a different type of way to move fast, and you're going the speed as if you're sprinting, yet you're not breathing as hard, and
Right.
still a good workout. Yeah.
Totally. So, okay, so how, because cross country skiing is slower, but although, albeit I will say that it's faster than my split board. When I put the cross country skis on,
Totally.
I was like, oh my God, I am rocketing right now. I mean, and so I can't imagine what skate skis are like, even in relation to those, because like I said, I saw those people just flying down those trails.
Oh yeah, skate skiing is like you'll put them on and just tip over immediately before you've even started moving. But within like an hour, you'll be moving proficiently enough so you can figure it out pretty easily. It's mostly flat. All our golf courses around here, they groom like 70 miles of trails here, so,
Oh.
and you get free access. So it was just like, why would I not learn this sport when no other place I've ever lived gives you this much free access to a recreational activity where they have to groom it. So I jumped in, and it was just super fun to go. We had what do we call it? Like, I don't know, like our beginners group, like all us friends in our 30s met up like in the evenings at the golf course and just all learned and fell together, and it was just fun. It made it way better than going out there by yourself or going out there with an expert and having someone not do well. It really made us feel a lot more comfortable watching everyone else struggle too. So even just finding your group, it's a good way to interact with friends rather than, I don't know, most social things involve like drinking or something. But when you can go out
Right.
and learn a sport together, or go out, even like it's sort of like backpacking, where if you find something that you're a novice at, or you find something where you spend the whole day together and you're engaged, you just become better friends way quicker than if
100%.
there's distractions. It's a really cool thing, and skate skiing happened to be like the next realm of through hiking of like a couple hours a day, and we're just like laughing about falling and talking
Yeah.
about stuff, catching up while skating around a golf course. It's pretty cool. Really have enjoyed that, and it's really rare as an adult you get to find things that you don't know how to do that you can kind of learn to do without wrecking your body. And skate skiing was
Mm.
one of those. Just you can, yeah, it's pretty fun to try new things, but as adults we get stuck in these silos of things we've always done and never
Yeah.
branch out. So that's been rewarding with skate skiing as well.
You sold me, man. I'm getting skate skis this year. I was already probably gonna get them, and after listening to that, I'm stoked. Like, I want to go on Marketplace right now and go find some or something.
Oh yeah, our secondhand gear store is where we all got ours.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's just like pretty affordable. It's not like we're gonna be world class. We're just looking for something that
Right.
works.
Oh man, no, that's cool. Well, good stuff. So, okay, so that's your winter. Now, when you get into spring, and we were just talking, shoulder season in some of these more northern states are really can be hit or miss. One day it's super nice out. The next 4 days you're like, it's windy and snowing again. And then, and it's June, it's snowing again. You're like, what is going on here? Right. Type of thing. So from what I understand, at least the last 4 years, or maybe not 4 years, but I know you've done it 4 times at least, the Cocodona
Yeah.
250. So is that, well, I guess let's talk about that since that's in the spring. So, dude, what keeps you coming back to that race after? Well, this was your 4th time running it. So what's the allure with that race?
Yeah, you know that thing you really want to just get right one time in your life? That is Cocodona for me. It's like every single
Interesting.
year something goes wrong with the race, and I don't have to win or anything. I just want a race where it feels like it went pretty smoothly. And every single year there's something, and at the same time I want it to go perfectly. It's kind of fun to get a new challenge every year to work on or to solve. And kind of how I work, because that's in early May, and in May we still have plenty of snow here, but kind of that spring, why I always say it's a tough time of year is because that's when I have to transition from more
Yeah.
recreational stuff or maybe a speed block into lengthening it out and getting more specific to racing. So usually I'll up the miles, do, and then try to fit in a 3-day weekend to do like a training camp in either southern Utah or Moab or something like that. But yeah, spring is always a tough time of year, just where skiing's not great anymore, running isn't great, all the mountains still have too much snow to really get out in them, and then races are coming up, so you're still trying to get the miles in. So it's a lot of pavement, or like paths low down, or just going to Utah.
Man, so that's what I was going to ask was, how does the heat hit you when you're in Montana all winter and it's barely getting above 32 degrees? Because obviously, like, I mean, I don't have to explain this to you, but maybe some of the viewers, but like your heart rate is way more jacked up when you are running in hot weather than when you're running or doing aerobic work in cool weather. So how does that affect you? What do you do? Well, it sounds like you do some of these training blocks down south.
Yeah, that helps some, but really what I found, just health in general, is really focusing more 2 to 3 times a week on a pretty good strength routine. And then I pair that with sauna a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And that keeps like this low level, at least heat adaptation throughout the year. And then I can up that a little bit. But it's also just the more you read about sauna usage, like it's so good in so many ways that I used to just do it for races, and now I just keep it in year round. And I think that's really helped, and just helps everything from, I don't know, breathing better. Lungs are more clear. Seems like blood oxygen level, according to studies, is higher. Like sauna is like the magic thing. So I'd say like twice a week, and I really enjoy it now. So even if it's going to be a hard strength session, I pair it with sauna so that it's that relaxation at the end of it, because I think it's pretty rough, this I guess style we have of do your workout, immediately upload it to your phone, and then look at your stats. I like to make myself do the sauna and have a little bit of a break between like working on your body and then just jumping into fake serotonin hitting you from all the messages and notifications. So it's a good time to think. 15 minutes without a phone at a time. Pretty nice.
So you're kind of creating that buffer from when you had this real hard workout, and now it's like totally contrasting it with just, you know, sitting in the sauna and just being chilled out.
Totally. Yeah. You just like sit there and your mind relaxes, your heart rate. I mean, it can fluctuate because you're in a sauna, but at least your mind is calmed down. And it's a really cool, I was talking about this to someone recently. When like a sauna, the one we have is like 180 degrees, so your phone's going to overheat, can't take it in there. And you never know who else, it's a pretty big sauna, who else is going to be in there. But it's the only time in life I can think of where no one's going to have a distraction. Like you can either talk or not talk, but you're just genuine humans, like in a place together without any way to distract yourselves other than your mind. So it's a pretty raw form of existence. It's pretty fun.
Bro, you just took the word out of my mouth. So there's been all those memes and stuff going around online where they raw dog a flight, meaning they don't use headphones or something like that, and they're just sitting there on the flight or on a run, you know. And I'm like, oh my god, this is so funny. So basically, you're talking about raw dogging the sauna, although that sounds pretty bad when everybody else is in there, maybe. But no,
I talked to my friend, and I want him to raw dog a marathon, the Chicago Marathon. Like fly out there, no phone, just your watch, no nothing on the plane, run the marathon and fly back without packing anything. That would be the best way to go do a marathon.
That's a unique challenge, right? Can you imagine, dude, raw dogging the Cocodona 250? I mean,
just no pack. How will it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Some water bottles.
Yeah, I don't know how that would go. Well, I guess. Well, hold on. Before I get back to there, I wanted to say one thing on the sauna, which was I ran rim to rim to rim in
Yeah.
May. And I did the same thing. So typically I'll sauna once or twice a week. But for them, for my training for that, I was doing it about 4 times a week. I was trying to get in there, and I was going longer and longer and longer because I was coming out of spring in Wyoming here. And I'll tell you what, like, it was not as hot as what I experienced in R3. And I will say that was probably what saved me on that run, because I just really didn't get any heat training here. And so I'm also there for sauna too. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. And anyone out there, heat training or heat acclimation with the sauna, it only takes 2 to 3 weeks. So if you're getting worried about something, you can get pretty heat adapted in, I mean, as little as 10 days. So don't stress too much. Just jump in that sauna for 30 minutes to an hour in 2 or 3 sessions every day and good to go.
Well, Joe Rogan and Rhonda Patrick and all those sauna connoisseurs would be happy with our discussion here.
Yeah, and you get the SEO by mentioning Joe Rogan here, so this will
right. But there we go. I'll put that in my transcript. Yeah. So, okay. So the Cocodona. So, from what well, let me ask this question. Let's describe your experience at Cocodona, because I know something quite notable happened with your Achilles that seemed to happen quite early in the race. I'm guessing that might have been your biggest obstacle on that race, or what else was too. Yeah.
Yeah, basically everything went well. So Cocodona, it starts out with a 33-mile section. 20 of it is dry between aid stations, and it gains 10,000 feet. So that's really the crux of it. And it's right next to Phoenix, so it's like 95 degrees every year. But with sauna training and some practice and some good strategies and stuff, got through it. No big deal this year. And it's always the crux of my race. So I was pretty stoked at mile 33, but then jogging along, it gets a lot flatter and more rolling. And then around mile 50, my Achilles just starts screaming, and it's getting progressively worse. It's just like, I don't know, like stabbing pain in maybe high ankle, low calf area. And I actually texted my friend who's a PT and was like, well, so just before you say that I should quit, I'm just going to say, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to try to finish this, but how should I tape my Achilles so that it hurts the least?
So good.
And so he texted me back. Actually, he was on vacation with his mom, and he used her foot as the example, showing me how to tape up my foot. And so I did that from mile 50 to the end. So 200 miles on an Achilles that was screaming, and got through it, but I just couldn't move very fast. So that's kind of the fun of these long races, especially at 250, is it's like, okay, my top speed has been cut dramatically. How am I going to make up for that? So what I did was, it's like, there's going to be no downtime at aid stations. Everything has to be super efficient, and maybe I'll sleep 20 minutes or so. And that's how much I ended up sleeping. But it was just like, so I have this hurdle, how am I going to overcome it? And what concessions can I make to make up for it? So cutting out stop time and just trying to average that 14, 15 minutes a mile, which is really just running a couple 100 yards every mile, if you can even hobble that far, just to make up for a walking pace. And that's what I stuck to throughout the rest of it. And it was quite painful, but I held on to 6th place for the 3rd year in a row at that thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Did I see in your post that everybody finished under the course record?
Yeah, all 6 of us broke the previous course record. So
Unreal.
Yeah, it's
real.
Most competitive 200-miler for sure in the US.
First of all, dude, congrats on that. Second, it's awesome that you have a buddy that's a physical therapist. I have the same thing. I do the same thing to him. I text him like, Ozzy, what's wrong here, type of thing. And then, did he ever say what was it that caused the Achilles issue? Because obviously you've ran over 50 miles many times before, and you're probably doing right up close to that, maybe in some of your training runs, or you're even past it. So why did it start bugging you there?
Yeah, we don't know. It could have been something from like a slight rolled ankle, the stepping weird, and then just continues to jostle it because it came on fairly slowly. And like one of those things where you're running and it's like, oh, this bothers me, but sometimes little pains go away. But this one just got progressively worse, and then suddenly it was screaming out of nowhere. Just I don't know, it was like probably an hour progression of like, huh, that's weird. The back of my leg
Yeah.
bothers me. And then it's just like, oh man, this is pretty bad. And then it was texting my friend to ask how to tape it. And then I was texting my crew, like, yeah, it hurts, but I should be good to make it 20 more miles till the next crew point to, okay, I'm going to stop at the next aid station in 3 miles and get it taped. Like, I knew it was progressing, but just progressed a lot quicker. And yeah, not too sure on the actual cause. I just know after the race, I limped around for a month and had 6 weeks of PT to even get it back to normal, I guess.
Ooh, did they diagnose us with Achilles tendonitis or what was it?
Yeah, something tendonitis, tendinosis, something along that line. They did X-ray my foot too. They thought it might be some kind of broken bone that caused it, but all clear from what I was. Well, actually, I my doctor X-rayed the foot, and I was waiting for the results, but it was taking so long, and I had a meeting, so I just left and
Yeah,
was like, "They'll call me if something's that wrong." So they never
good for
called me,
you.
so I think nothing was wrong. Take back your time.
Maximizing efficiency. I love it, dude. I love it. No, that's interesting because I actually got the same symptoms when I, but this was when I was doing that Goggins 4x4x48 challenge, and I was running on the concrete, and I usually don't run on concrete, and I was just doing that because I thought it was going to be the fastest, just right from my house, and I
Yep.
started getting that tendon, and my foot just blew up, kind of like how you had that picture of yours in the croc. My foot was the same thing, and then I just kind of started doing these exercises and it kind of eventually went away, but it was scary. I was like, is this going to be a forever thing? Because you see all the comments when you're YouTubing the
Yep.
exercises to fix it, and they're saying, oh, yeah, I've had this for 85 years. And I'm thinking, that can't happen, man. So
Yeah.
I'm glad it's doing better.
And the craziest thing is after that happens, you just don't trust it. So it was like, well, that happened at mile
Right.
50. So
Yeah.
maybe every time at mile 50 this happens. And I've had to break down some of that by doing a lot different training or pushing into that zone of like, okay, see, I went 75 miles and it
For you.
didn't blow up. Yeah, it gets very psychological. And usually I don't let that impact me, but it's very weird how those injuries just stick in your mind and leave that kernel of doubt. But yeah,
100%, man.
What PSA while we're here, do your PT exercises. They actually work. Then you don't have it for 85 years.
85 years. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's awesome, man. Okay, so after Cocodona, then I guess, what's the next thing? What's the next thing that your summers had? Was it the Montana
Um,
Meltdown? Was that it?
well, yeah. So I started a podcast actually the day Cocodona started because I was like, oh,
Sick.
I don't want to be tempted to look at numbers or read the comments. So I'll put out the first episode right when I'm starting Cocodona. So it's immediately a 3 day buffer before I look at anything again. So I started a podcast. I began PT for the next 6 weeks. I got back into running and then and then started which was, I mean, the injury and Achilles issues was one of the best things as far as like stepping back. I've done
Yeah.
way less backpacking in the last couple years, and as kind of the way I was doing things, it was like, well, I can hike, so I can go backpack. I can still go backpack 40 miles because 40 miles is so easy. I gave everyone the recipe last time.
You only
Just
go
kidding.
downhill or hike flats, Jeff.
Yeah, but I got back into backpacking, and that was kind of in conjunction with PT was sort of the rehab thing. So I did some of my favorite routes, tried out some new routes, did one route where I did like a 45-mile day and I saw three bears. One of them was a grizzly, a bunch of elk, moose. I saw the Montana trip or Montana bingo, I think I was
Oh, really?
calling it. Like I saw like a like a mountain goats, elk, moose, grizzly bear, black bear, deer. Yeah, it was a really cool day, and it was just like I wouldn't have done this and wouldn't have had my fast packing gear out and been going. If I hadn't have gotten injured, I would have still been running and cramming stuff into it. So that
Yeah.
was a cool way to ease into the front part of summer and really focus on me and my girlfriend started a race, Montana Meltdown, and so we got that all squared away and listed on Ultra sign up. And
No kidding.
so yeah, so Bozeman, Montana, October 12th. If anyone wants to see how far they can run, we have a awesome loop course here in downtown Bozeman, and do 4 hours, 12 hours, or 24 hours, and just really stretch the limits, see if you can hit 100 miles in a day. And so we set that up. And then I got back to running, and now I have a Wasatch 100 miler in a month. So just by happenstance, it's been the most balanced year, as we talked about, with winter and then a spring race, an injury, ease in with some
Yeah.
backpacking, start up a couple new projects to keep me busy, some coaching, watching athletes do great, and then starting up my new endeavor as a race director. So it's been probably the most balanced year I've had in a decade, maybe.
Wow. So tell me a little bit more about the Montana Meltdown. Where did that idea come from?
Yeah, so I'd always thought fixed time races were kind of weird, where you run loops
Hmm.
around something. And then I did a few of them, and I realized they're really cool and engaging because you see every other competitor, because the course is so short. You can see them, you can go with them, you can walk a full loop with them, you can jog, you get an aid station every mile and a half, so you don't ever have to carry anything. And if you're tired or you have stomach issues or got to use the bathroom, it's never more than a mile and a half. Yeah, not even a mile and a half away to fix any of those issues. So I found it to be a really fun way to just eliminate everything other than seeing how cool or how big of a number I could get in a fixed amount of time. So I actually did a 48-hour in Las Vegas a couple years ago and did 200 miles worth of loops. So we don't have a 48-hour option, and I do not expect anyone to run 48 hours of loops, but I thought it
Oh
was
my God.
fantastic that you could eliminate everything from your life except how far can I get in this amount of time. And so
Right.
there's not one within 10 hours of here, so thought it would be cool to offer that and get people out. I think my mom might do it. Yeah, I think it's just really cool. All ages. If you finish one loop, you're a finisher. And it's a really cool thing because I think races, especially hundreds, and now there's live stream and coverage of all these things. And now we got the Olympics going right now. They cover the first place people, but in like a fixed time thing, everyone is on the same track. You'll get passed by first
Sure.
place multiple times, but you'll get to interact with them. You're not 50 miles behind them on the course, and you get to chase your own goal right next to someone chasing their own goal. Their own goal might be 3 times what yours is, but you're right next to them on the same track. And I think that was the fun thing about the fixed time style, is some people's goal was 100 miles over 2 days, or 30 miles in 12 hours, or whatever it may be. Maybe it's just hike for 4 hours. It was pretty fun to just get everyone in the same area, same style event, and it caters to whatever your goal is. And there's no vert, so you don't even you could be from Florida and get this thing done.
There's no vert, dang it. Yeah. No, it sounds accessible
Yeah, very.
for
Yeah.
a wide range of people.
Yeah, bring people in, and yeah, that's really the main goal. And I think with everything blowing up outdoor recreation, these more local community driven events are really how you're going to get to know the people next to you. Because I drove through West Yellowstone a couple weeks ago. The line to get in was 5 miles long, and that's not what Bozeman, Montana is about. We want some more local stuff, use our local parks, local mountains, build the
Yeah.
local community. We don't need to go to Yellowstone.
Yeah. Yeah. And
It's
you
too
can,
long to get in anyways.
no. Yeah. I mean, you could just, why not? You could just go run with your neighbor around some loops.
Yeah, exactly. You
There
could
you
learn
go.
who your neighbor actually is.
Yeah. No kidding. That's a great point. That's a great point. Cool. Okay. So you mentioned fast packing. Fast packing is something that I have been dabbling in, or thinking about dabbling in. So I just got off the Wonderland Trail a couple weeks ago. And have you ever done that, Wonderland?
Oh yeah, I ran it. So I haven't fast packed it, but just ran it in a day.
Dude, what'd you think of the vert?
It's sneaky. I think the uphill is graded okay. Some of the downhill though is a little sloppy. Like you can feel it on your quads big time.
Did you run clockwise or counter?
Clockwise.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did it clockwise, and I remember recording into the camera. I said, I bet you the FKT on this was set counterclockwise because the descents, especially coming off a Clapatchie Park or whatever, like, dude, the descent, I'm looking at my watch, it's 22% grade. And I'm thinking,
Yeah.
you're trying to break with your trekking poles and stuff. And I'm thinking, man, anybody running this is going to be in trouble because obviously always your thought is like, oh, I'm going to be going so much faster on the way downhill. And for me, when I was backpacking it, I'm thinking, this is dang near as slow as going uphill.
Totally. I'm right there with you. The downhills, I think every uphill you can kind of figure it out and you have the extra traction from just moving uphill. But yeah, the downhills were the shockingly slow part of that entire trail. And yeah, I think you're right. In just running it clockwise, it was really easy to figure out where probably is a better place to start and going counterclockwise.
Yeah.
It was like, we did this all wrong if we were wanting to do it fast, but that's
Yeah.
part of the fun. We weren't trying for an FKT. We were just enjoying it.
How many hours did that take?
I think 26, maybe 27, maybe somewhere in there.
Dang.
26, 27, just
Legit.
over a day.
Legit, man. Legit.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was fun.
Well, so the last few days on the Wonderland, I started just running. Or just kind of jogging, I guess. It not running, but
Yep.
And I thought, man, I remember watching a Jeff Pelletier. He's that YouTube guy. He does some good YouTube docs. You've probably seen him. But he was doing a fast pack of the TRT. And I remember watching that and thinking, man, that'd be kind of fun to do the TRT in a fast pack style, I think, because
Totally.
once you start running, man, you got to know this. Day hiking for me kind of drives me nuts. I'm like, I could just run this in half the time.
Totally. Yeah. Yep.
And
day hiking has to have like a carrot or a goal. If you're day hiking, it better be to a lake where you're going to swim for 2 hours. That's my day hiking thing.
Exactly, man. Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm thinking about doing some fast packing. Do you have any, off the top of your head, any fast packing tips for anybody that wants to get into it? I mean, I know it's pretty closely related. I mean, it's like ultra running and backpacking had a baby, or trail running and backpacking had a baby. But
yeah. I think the biggest thing is fast packing is really a mindset. Like it's not a certain miles a day. It's not a certain speed that you're going, but anyone can fast pack. Just take what you're backpacking with, and it's probably a pack that's
right.
bigger than you are. And then just you cut that down right to the verge of where it's still comfortable, but you don't have anything extra. And then you just move to the terrain. I think a lot more than backpacking, you're moving to the terrain. Maybe it's jogging the downhills, maybe it's even jogging the flats, or maybe it's just pushing that pace a little bit more across the flats. But it's really just maximizing the time between destinations is what I like to think of it. Like maybe there's a viewpoint in 10 miles. It's maximizing that 10 miles so you can spend more time at that viewpoint. Maybe you're fast packing and you're only doing, or you are still doing 25 miles a day, but you're spending more of that time enjoying the places you want to enjoy, like going for that swim. So I think that's the biggest misconception with fast packing is you don't have to hit any certain numbers, but rather than slogging across like
I see.
I don't know, an ugly area, you might as well spend 2 hours at a lake, or if you want to sleep in or read your book or something, just if you're fast packing, you can cover all that terrain and then have all this leisure time for more to add to that recreational activity. But as far as a tip, I think the biggest thing is just efficiently packing. So any food, if it's going to rain that day, if you're one of the people who wants to cook something for lunch, have everything you're going to need able to get out without digging into your backpack. If you can open it up and grab something out within probably 60 seconds, then your pack is packed correctly. If you got to dig through everything and repack it, then you're just eating into your break time or your swimming time or your leisure time. Just there's so many little 5-minute chunks you can add up throughout the day, and those chunks turn into miles. And that's really the methodology of fast packing is you can brush your teeth while starting hiking in the morning. You can do
Yeah.
all these little things that save you time, and that's how you can enjoy more of your vacation rather than struggling to get it done on the time frame.
And then you have more, like you're saying, you have more time to enjoy maybe that lake or that viewpoint that you're trying to get to all day type of thing and take the dip. But now you have more time because, and that's exactly why I started running on the Wonderland. A lot of it was in trees, in the tree canopy. And I'm thinking, dude, I'm so bored. I'm just going to start jogging. Why not? That was my mentality with it. And now all of a sudden I'm getting to camp earlier. I'm getting to St. Anthony Lake earlier, or Anthony's, whatever the heck lake it is. And now I can enjoy myself a little bit more. And yeah, so I do see it as the best of both worlds almost with that mentality.
Totally. Yeah. And especially if you do a little pre-planning ahead of time and know where you want to hit, then you don't spend time even looking at a map and moving slower. It's like from this point to this point, I'm just going to move pretty well. And then, yeah, check out this lake. Or the Wonderland has like a few sections that are pretty high up above tree line, like I think sunrise and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you could just like take that ridge really slow, take some cool video. You can FaceTime your friend or something. But when you're in the trees, just get it done, because I mean, trees are pretty similar everywhere.
Thank you, man. Okay. So you said you're originally from the PNW?
Yeah. Yep.
Where at?
Vancouver, Washington, right next to Portland.
All right, yeah. So I have a buddy in Vancouver, and I lived for 9 years in the Valley in Oregon, McMinnville it was called, so south of Portland.
Yeah, I went to college in Corvallis. So
okay, so you know, okay. Here's what I figured out. Almost every single hike looks the same in the trees. I mean, so it's funny, man, with the Wonderland Trail, I was you making a documentary of it. And the first day, because I've been out in Laramie now for about a year and a half or whatever, and it's a plain state, and then the Rocky Mountains, and it's very different than the PNW. And I remember that I'm talking to the camera, I'm like, man, I love the trees right now. I'm so like I feels very nostalgic, this and that. And then but then I also say, I know I'm probably gonna get sick of these at some point. End of the first day, dude. Because I started at White River Campground, and then I go up through Summerland, which was awesome, down to Indian Bar, and then I did this big descent into Nickel Creek, and it was all trees. And then the next day was all trees. So I was in trees for like 30 miles, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is why I moved.
Yeah, and it can be peaceful, but it's like the trees are when you kind of think and spend time in your own head. It's not
100%.
like engaging externally.
100%, man. And that, like I said, it is very peaceful. And for the first few hours, I was like, this is great. And then I'm thinking, man, I need some views, open spaces.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you work so hard for the views in the Pacific Northwest because they're so high up and you're so far below any tree line that, I mean,
100%.
That's just why I started trail running on accident, is I just wanted to get you a view quicker.
Dude, I love it, man. That's awesome. So, okay, so now, speaking of the TRT, so you just got off of the TRT on an FKT attempt, and I got to say, your recap reel of it, well, it was kind of a recap reel, like expectations versus reality, was gold, man. I mean, and this is one of the reasons I really enjoy following your stuff. One of the few reasons is you don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, you put out this reel, and I don't know, maybe you want to just explain to the audience kind of what the reel was and what you experienced on the TRT with this.
Yeah, so I've been, in the last 2 or 3 years, I've been going back and going to places that I've lived that I have this connection to, and trying to set FKTs. And it worked pretty well with the John Muir Trail success. And that's kind of where I consider that I like to say I kind of grew up going into the Sierras when I was 20 on the Pacific Crest Trail. Took a break from college and had to learn how to buy enough food to hike for 7 days. I learned like snow navigation. I met friends that I still have today. I had to like be responsible and an adult at 20 and just came a long ways after freshman year of college, which was not too much driven towards being an adult. And so like in 2022, so 11 years after that, it was like, this would be pretty cool to set the record on the trail that, I don't know, felt just pretty special at that time. So I got that and was successful. And then fast forward to this year, it was like, oh, I lived in Tahoe. I got to fulfill the childhood dream of being like a ski bum in Tahoe in 2018. And so it was like, I'll go try the Tahoe Rim Trail. And I went out there, had a decent plan. But just like things have gotten so busy. It was like, okay, I got to squeeze it into this 3-day period. And it was like, I'm going to aim for the FKT, and worst case, I just still run the whole trail and I'm not going to be disappointed. I just want to be able to do the whole trail in a push, sort of like the Wonderland Trail. Just, it's a fun style. So start out, things go really good for the first 20, 30 miles, and then hit the dry part I started at Spooner Summit. So hit the dry section on Relay Peak, which is also the high point. And as I'm coming down there, I hit the first water source in 20 miles and fill up some water and chug a bunch of it, probably too much because a half mile later, I'm throwing up on the trail. And this is in that reel because I threw up, and I don't throw up just one time. They're usually strings of 3 or 4 times. So one puke and it's like, this will be funny. I'll just start my phone recording. Maybe I'll catch it or something, or maybe I don't. And turns out it was a pretty perfectly framed shot on accident. And so I have that. I continue going, kind of get through that, have some stomach issues, but still feeling good about finishing it. And then around mile 45, a bee stings me and my arm swells up pretty huge. And I didn't have Benadryl. I don't think I would have taken it anyways because I wouldn't want to get drowsy.
Right.
And then I get into the first night and still having some stomach issues and stuff. And then I fill up some water and I'm unzipping my pack to change out headlamps because mine had gotten kind of dim and I had a backup or one I was going to switch to. And my whole pack just rips open, like the entire zipper unzips and it's not holding anything. And so it's like, okay, well, I can't carry anything in the back. So I turned around my running vest, like a front pack, and I'm hugging it to hold all the stuff inside of it for like a mile. And
no. Yeah.
I have 100 miles or like 95 miles or something left of this trail. And I walk for a mile and it's like, my back is hurting. This is so stupid. Why am I trying to do this?
Yeah.
I tried to fix the zipper, but I have it somewhere around here. It's completely, the welding just came apart when I guess my own strength was so big that I just ripped the zipper off.
Right.
But then it was just like, this is not going to work. So I ended up sleeping in an emergency blanket for a couple hours, walked into Tahoe City, took 3 rides, but I hitchhiked back to my car and then called it a trip and drove out to coach an athlete and my girlfriend who were running a race in Utah. So that's kind of how the trip went. Had giant plans of shoot for the FKT. Worst case, I'll just have an awesome 170-mile adventure run, and 75 miles into a 170-mile run, it just exploded where it became the moment of, I've dealt with all these things. I can probably get through them. And then in hindsight, it's like, I've never dealt with all of them at the same time. I just could not overcome this. And so sometimes things go right and sometimes they don't. Either way, it was a pretty funny adventure. And in that 15-second reel, I tried to capture that.
One part in the reel, you go, things are pretty sad right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So my pack broke and then I spent like an hour trying to fix the zipper or like wrap some stuff in it. I tried to bungee the zipper with some cord stuff on some clothing. Nothing worked. And after that hour, it was like, okay, I'm definitely not getting the FKT. I don't even know how to use my pack anymore. And it was just like, I got to just record some raw emotion here. So I started my phone recording at night and was just like, and I never even like my podcast. I never know what I'm going to say, but I just start out and go, yeah, things are pretty sad right now.
Dude, I'm so glad you put that in the reel, man. Oh, that really tied everything in.
Yeah, and it was like, I'm just disappointed because literally nothing went right. And yeah, I just rambled for a little bit. But yeah, it's pretty fun to, I think, video when you're in the moment. I don't like to pull out technology, but sometimes
Right.
when it's just like you have these thoughts or things in your head, it's pretty fun to
Agreed.
just record them, and you can always delete them later. But that's kind of
Yeah.
my mindset of things suck. Let's just start recording. No one has to see this, but maybe I'll love it later.
It's always the best stuff, man. I'm telling you. That's, I mean, my documentaries that I've shared on YouTube, everybody, that's what resonates with everybody is those moments right there. And it's always the hardest to turn on the camera because it's the last thing you're thinking about. And you're like, especially when you're throwing up, man, like I can't even imagine that. Like throwing up sucks. I can't imagine getting my phone out and doing that, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, throwing up just hurts more than anything.
Exactly.
Especially when you're supposed to throw up and then keep running.
Right.
Just feeling.
Right, exactly. I can't imagine. Oh man. So awesome, dude. Well, again, Jeff, this has been great. You're always such a great guest to have. What I really love, and this is a little plug probably for your podcast, even though I haven't listened to it. But Jeff is a really good communicator. So, when I ask you questions, like, or when I leave space to talk, you fill in that space. It's just really good stuff, man. So I would recommend going over to listen to his podcast, The Free Outside. We'll put it in the show notes. Do you guys have a link for the Montana Meltdown?
Yeah, definitely. I can shoot that over to you as well.
Okay. So we can put that in there as well. And then Jeff's at The Free Outside on Instagram. Is there any underscores? Cool.
No, just The Free Outside. Free Outside was taken, but it's Free Outside on everything else. Instagram is The Free Outside.
The Free Outside. Awesome. Perfect. Yeah. So, well, I guess kind of, man, in closing here, is there anything else you want to bring up or talk about, or anything else?
I think something that I haven't said anywhere in a long time that I'd like to bring up is when I was 19, I was like home when you're at that weird age, you've just started college, but you go back to like a high school football game, and some kid's dad was like talking to me. He's like, yeah, just remember, don't just like go march through life and think you'll always do something later. And I don't know, I kind of think about that a lot still. It's just like a thing in passing. He'd probably never remember it. And just like the whole saving up things to do later. And I think just embracing that and taking the plunge to quit college at 20. I went back and finished eventually to hike the PCT, but all these little things where it's like, oh, I want to do the Tahoe Rim Trail. I mean, I failed pretty epically at it, which is funny, but I also went and tried it. I think just even if you're nervous or you think you might fail, it's always way better to just go and give it a shot. And having failed at a lot of things, and the failures get a lot less notoriety, you hear less about them, but I failed at least as many things that I've succeeded at. It's not that big of a deal. So I think just go ahead and go try something. Even if you're nervous or you think you might fail, it's always way better to just go and give it a shot. And having failed at a lot of things, and the failures get a lot less notoriety, you hear less about them, but I failed at least as many things that I've succeeded at. It's not that big of a deal. So I think just go ahead and go try something. You only make it 20 miles on the Wonderland Trail and have to hitchhike back to your car. Totally cool. At least you went and gave it a shot. It's a lot better than wishing you'd tried to do it.
Boom. Mic drop right there. Jeff Garmire, everyone.
Stay elite, my friends.